Okay, so just to show you an idea what I got to do all the way along here is I got to trench it down just below the second row of bricks. And that's a lot of work. I put an hour in just to move this. It's a lot of fun digging here at the Rockarosa. That's why it's the Rockarosa. But yeah, as much as I'd like to say, oh, let's just forget it and slide a piece of sheet metal down there and backfill it with some dirt, I don't want to take a chance in having this damn thing rot out again in my lifetime. So the best way to do it is to take it down that far, and then I'm going to go down basically a brick and a half with the house wrap, clean all that brick off, you know, let it dry out a few good sunny days, you know, take a wire brush to it, get all the dirt out of it, and then I can attach the house wrap with some acoustic sealant right to the brick at the bottom, and it'll be up underneath above the wood at the top. And then the next thing is to take the rigid foam and take the rigid foam just down past the okay, the garbage truck's gone. Yeah, so just take the rigid foam just down past the house wrap, and then what I'm going to do is sift a lot of this stuff here to get the rocks out of it, and put just stone and rocks, and then up near the top where it's above grade there'll be gravel, and the gravel will actually come up to about here so that I can properly grade it. What's going to happen is when I get up to the level where the wood starts, I'm going to have a piece of plastic stapled in there up under the siding, and that's going to come out about a foot. So what that'll do is that'll be buried in between the rocks and the gravel. So what that'll do is when any rainwater will come in, it'll shed outwards and not run straight down the foundation. And hopefully doing all that will keep it dry. Because like I said, if that doesn't keep it dry, then what I have to do is hire somebody to come in and dig this all up, coat the foundation, put in a weeper and drainage board, and that's a lot of money that I don't have right now. So hopefully this will do. At least I know it'll do for a few years anyways. So that's it. That's my work for today. Just that little bit. It's getting hot out here. I put in an hour. My back's killing me from slugging all these rocks out of the hole. So this is probably going to take me a week or two if I can only get an hour a day in on it, you know, to get that dug out. But that's okay. Like I say, this was my summer project doing this, so that's that. And this side here isn't so deep, so I'm only got one brick to go. It's a brick and a half on that side, and on the other side it's almost 2 bricks deep, the dirt. So, but the other side's almost all dug out anyways from me digging it down anyhow, so I don't have that far to go on the other side. Because when I had to replace the sill, I had to dig it down enough to get it at it. So, so it's going to be fun anyways. Lots of fun, lots of fun. Hi y'all, here again. Now we're looking at protecting the work that we've done. We're going to be putting on the house wrap and putting the styrofoam board there. You don't want to go with the styrofoam white. That stuff is no good. It'll just break. You want to go with the rigid styrofoam blue. And where you join it, you want to put tuck tape on it so that no water gets through the seams. You could also use a product on it to glue it to the foundation, like I think it's PL300 is for the foam board. I'm not positive on that because it's been a while, but I know they do have one out there that is for foam board. It's taken me most of a week just to trench this because it has been fairly hot except for the last few days, so or since yesterday, and today it's cooled down a bit, but I've been basically doing an hour a day in the morning on it, getting about 4 feet done a day. Yesterday I did about 8 feet. I got a little bit more of this to clear out. I want to cut that line off. That line is just a poly-piped wire that went to the old pump house years ago that used to be over top of where the old well was. So that's not in use anymore. So I can cut that off at the bottom and bury it. And I figure I can get the house wrap done today and maybe some of the foam board on there today. I also got to build a little homemade sluice box and try and, you know, sift some of my own gravel here to save some money. I don't want the boulders down in there, but the medium-sized rocks and the small rocks can go in the bottom, and I want to keep the small gravel stuff to put on the top. What I'll do is put a small bit of gravel underneath the foam board so that it's not sitting directly on the dirt, so there's good drainage. And then I'll put the larger stones up against it and fill it 2/3 with the larger stones. And then I'll start going with the smaller stuff. And the dirt and stuff that I don't use there will just go onto the driveway. That way I can repurpose most of it, and it won't cost me anything but the labor involved in sifting it. Okay, so what I've got is the 1 layer of house wrap on. I've decided to go with a 1.5 foot wide piece, and the reason for that is because this stuff is like gold nowadays. I mean, the price of this since I bought my last roll is really like, it's more than doubled. Last time I bought a roll of this stuff, it was like 20 bucks. Now it's like 42. Last time I bought a roll was probably about 7 years ago. Well, I'm going to shoot a bead of caulking in there, and then after I do that, then what I'll do is when the caulking sets up, I'll take some acoustic sealant and I'll go along the lip and just press it into it. That's the best way to seal it at the top. And I've been debating about the bottom. Do I seal the bottom to the brick or not? It's a 50-50 debate. And after seeing what had happened before with their idea of the shingles, I don't want to get moisture trapped in there, so I think I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to dig it down a bit more over there, so it's down about 2-3 inches below the second row of bricks. And what I'm going to do is bring the rigid foam about 2 inches from the bottom of that hole. So what I'll do is I'll have 2 inches of gravel, and then I'll have the rigid foam start. So the chance of water getting up into the wood, can it happen? Yeah, I suppose it could happen. Well, the probability of it is very limited because drainage is really good around here. We'd have to have a massive downpour that it couldn't handle that, and it would raise that level up almost 1.5 feet to get to the 1.5 to 2 feet to get to the wood. So the idea is I don't want to seal the house wrap to the brick, and I don't want to seal the foam to the brick, because if moisture does get in behind it, I want it to be able to wick its way back down and get out. The idea of the breathable layer is to allow that space that it can dry out or wick its way out. So I don't want to be trapping moisture in there. So I'm going to go that route and not seal it at the bottom. Okay, so what I'm using here is the Cladmate. It's 1 inch. This is what was left over from my laundry room project. I like this because it's got the lap. And what you want to do is keep that lap wherever possible. And with this project that we're doing, we want the lap at the top to go up underneath, because what that's going to do is create a drip edge. Should any water get in there, it'll come along and roll down, because this will be taped as well on all the corners once we have it in and installed. Working with this stuff is really easy. You just measure it out, score one side about a third the way through with a sharp knife, and then snap it. So it's really nice, really easy to work with. You don't have to mess with that, like that crappy white styrofoam, and it's a very nice board to work with. My measurement's going to be 21 inches. That's going to put me at the perfect distance from the top down, and still leave some room underneath for me to put gravel. And the idea is to try to keep the overlap wherever possible. Okay, second piece of foam board is in. One of the things I wanted to mention is that you use your tuck tape to tape the seams where they lap, and leave about 4 inches longer, and put it under the bottom and push it up and seal it good up on the back side of it too. That'll keep it from coming off. And just in case anyone was wondering why there's that difference there, if you look at this from the end, between the house wrap, there's about 4 or 5 inches from where the house wrap leaves off to where the styrofoam leaves off. And it's intended to be that way so that the house wrap, should there be any excess water, doesn't start wicking water up. So the idea is to have the styrofoam come down about 4 inches below where your house wrap leaves off. And like I say, I'll clear this out a bit more so that I can get a good 4 inches of gravel in underneath the styrofoam, and then start putting larger rocks in there. The reason I chose this option is because I had a fair bit of this foam board left from other projects, so it was already paid for and had no use. So I think it makes a good solution when you don't have extra money to go and buy the drainage board. Ideally, I don't know what it costs, but the drainage board is probably your best bet. You could probably just go with the house wrap down like that, and then go with some drainage board right up under the overhang there to the top of the wood. If you did that, it would probably provide the same type of protection. This is going to give a little bit of insulation value too to that wood, because in the winter time on the inside that usually gets condensated and pretty frosty because it gets cold. That's an unheated basement. So now I got a thermal break there. Okay, so that's what the one side looks like when it's completed with the foam board on it. One of the things you can do there is you got to pay attention when you're putting the screws in that you don't torque them in too tight or you go right through. But use your thumb beside where you're putting the hole and push in on it as you're screwing it in, and then it'll release a bit and it'll be just the right tension. Then you tape all your seams and that's it. I'm going for lunch. One of the things I'm debating is putting metal cladding over top of it, because I am putting rocks against it. I have a roll of the brown stuff. I don't know how much is left on it, so I'll check the stuff that I used on here. If I got enough of it, I'll put it across the front anyways. At least that'll protect it from the rocks, you know, tearing the styrofoam when I put the gravel and the rocks in. Alright, so just to update and show you what I've been up to here. I've gone through and put most of the big, first I put in about 6 inches of gravel in the bottom. Then I put the large, small boulders, I guess you could call them, and then large rocks. And now what I'm doing is sifting as much of this stuff, pretty much all of it. Like, most people won't want to go to this extent, but I want the material. I want the dirt without any nails, without any rocks, and I want the rocks without any dirt to go down in that hole. So what I've done is made a little sifter box here, and it's easy on my back. I can just sit down and sift a little, you know, I got the rest of the summer to finish this project, so I'm not really running behind or anything. I'll work on this and do the front. Then by the time I finish this front, it'll probably be cool enough to start working on the other portion, and I'll have my money in for the month to get the materials to finish that side. And then later on in the fall, I'll come back and do the two sides of this. But yeah, this week here it's just sifting this stuff, and it's looking pretty good so far.